Samus is a lady!
Kevin Spacey,
What?
Kaiser Soze.
What?
Yeah!
I didn't
Boom.
know.
Neo is the one!
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
Hit the button.
She gets fused with a dog.
Yeah, she gets fused with the dog.
That's all I'm gonna say about that.
Yeah.
I saw a horrible I saw a horrible joke shirt that had her and the original form of the dog and a transmutation circle behind them, and they're doing the fusion dance from DBZ.
Yes, I've seen that, yeah.
I've seen that too. There's so many pictures, and then like people just love to make that joke, and it's always sad, but also always hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I posted one in a server the other day. It had like pictures of dogs, and you know, like it started with a small dog and went all the way up. The small one, you know, it was like Yip, and then the next big one like Borf, then Bark, and then Ruff or whatever, and then it had a picture of the transmutated girl dog saying Edward, and I was like, oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no.
No.
Yeah, that is sad. Yeah.
Not okay.
Not okay.
What have you done? You've derailed these good happy times.
Yes.
Well, that's the moment when you realize it's not good happy time. There's nothing good and happy about this at all.
No, there isn't. No.
This isn't good or happy.
Just preemptively doing this
Squeak, squeak.
to get rid of an inventory item. Squeak, squeak. It's like a mouse.
Squeak, squeak. Squeak, squeak.
1, 2, or 3. And
One.
now it's 114.
1, 2, 3.
Hey, your cursor's on the screen.
No, it's not.
I don't know what you're talking about, asshole.
Uh,
Get off my screen.
We are playing this on totally legitimate hardware.
This is
Shush.
Shifty eyes.
capture card.
I
PlayStation
do
1.
have the discs. It's just my PlayStation 2. Well, my PlayStation 2 is a little wonky. Plus,
This game suffers bad from an upscaled resolution like
yes,
that.
it does. It looks super bad. But also, I don't have a capture card anymore. So
Even if you did, honestly, if you can, with some of the older consoles like this, if the emulator does not have any major problems or glitches, it's always going to look better than it's going to look capture
And
card
once
in the
there's a
console.
PlayStation
Yeah.
3 version, then that tends to do a lot of the same thing, because it is an emulator.
yeah,
So it tends to be better as well.
yeah. I tested Tales of Destiny, the first one, on my PlayStation 2 and my PlayStation 3. It looked worse on my PlayStation 3. So I'm like, well, crap.
It's always a crapshoot with games, how it's going to look with what different things.
I
Yeah.
know you can change some settings in the emulator though when you're on the PS3.
Yeah, I
That
was
may
I was
not help.
I was playing with the settings for it, like for Tales of Destiny and Xenogears, but it didn't really help all that much.
If the game has smooth emulation, I consider this a factor of the PlayStation 2 GameCube at this point too. It's almost
Mhm.
better to do it in an emulator, because,
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
the upscaling. The
I've
PlayStation
heard
2...
some GameCube games still have weird glitches and problems though. Like I was looking into that for like possibly screen sharing Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, and it sounded like that one still has some problems.
Yeah, probably. As far as GameCube games, though, if you have a Wii that plays them, you can probably get away with that. Not
Yeah.
for screen sharing, but like LP-wise. I don't know.
Yeah.
For screen sharing too, because you can screen share a capture preview window.
Mhm.
Yeah, the Secretary's Diary. April 6th. I accidentally moved one of the stone statues on the second floor when I leaned against it. When the chief found out about it, he was furious. I swear the guy nearly bit my head off, screaming at me never to touch the statue again. If it's so important, maybe he shouldn't put it out in the open like that. April 7th. Deep breath. I heard that all the art pieces from the cheap collection are rare items. Literally worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. I don't know which is the bigger mystery. Where he finds those tacky things. Where he's getting the money to pay for them.
Dun dun dun.
May 10th, that's a big jump. You don't write in your diary very often. I wasn't surprised to see the chief come in today with yet another large picture frame in his hands. This time it was a really disturbing painting depicting a nude being hanged. I was appalled by the expression on the chief's face as he looked at that painting. Why anyone would consider something like that to be a work of art is beyond my comprehension.
Everyone's an art critic.
Yeah, well, you saw the painting. It's not exactly top quality.
Yeah.
What was I talking about before I read that?
Emulation.
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of, I don't know, it's weird with the PS2 as well, because I've been testing it with different games that I would like to do one day or another. And there's some weird bugs with PlayStation 2 emulators too.
Yeah. It
Yes.
depends on the game.
Yeah.
Like
I was doing
some games seem flawless, and others will just be like, oh, this one has weird problems for some reason.
In
Has a-
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, in Xenogears, I think it's on disc 2. There's a certain boss fight where it will just randomly freeze if you play it on the PlayStation 2. And you just have to keep restarting the battle and hope that when he does a certain attack, it doesn't freeze. Like there's like a chance, a very slim chance that it won't freeze.
It's actually just a really meta attack.
That's like when I LP'd it, I actually showed the software freezing, and I think I restarted it 10 times. It was a lot to try to get it to show.
I was just killing time playing Persona 3, and I was emulating it because I couldn't hook up my PS2 at the time. This was like a month or two ago. There was a bug, and I couldn't for the life of me figure out why the fuck it was happening. A line would just go through the portrait's eyes, like because the dialogue portraits come up, it just went through their eyes.
Graphic settings.
Yeah, I mean, I played with it all for probably about 2 hours. I don't remember what the exact thing was, but I had to open a little sub-menu and turn on, like, half sprites or something like that. And it just didn't do it anymore. And one thing I never was able to find the answer to was the menu icons during battle would have this red pixeling shading that isn't supposed to be there. And there was just no answer. And that's the moment I decided I'm LPing it on the console.
Yeah, that unfortunately PS2 emulation is like, it can work really well for some games, but it's pretty common that a lot of games it's really finicky, basically.
Yeah. It's okay though. There's a PlayStation 3 HD version for that game, so works out for me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's like a PSN title or whatever.
I hope it's better than, like, I know PS2 games are just really hard to emulate, I think, and like port over, because when I booted up the version of Dark Cloud that's on like the PS4, I noticed really early on, just in my little bit of like testing it out, as like, oh, those are some weird kind of like the scenery kind of breaking apart, like there's little white lines in the background there in this cutscene that shouldn't be there.
I've seen those in some PlayStation 2 games emulated on stuff too. I've heard nothing but good things about the PS3 version of that game, and I think it has to do with the textures being manually upscaled by the people who made the game.
Nice.
I think. Don't quote me on that. I don't own that version yet. That's what I've heard. Which works out real well, because then I can do that version 3, and I can do Golden for 4 with the PlayStation TV or whatever it's called, that you can just like hook up to your TV and put the video
I've
cartridge
got
in.
that.
I need to buy one still, but they're pretty cheap now because they're shit. Because no one bought them, I guess. I don't know. And then 5's on the PlayStation 4 if Atlas ever graces us with permission to LP that game. Please, Atlas.
I mean, they're probably never going to officially say that you can, but also I think
At this point,
people still do it, and at this point they're probably not still actively spending resources on hunting that shit down.
it's also really only a problem if we monetize, and we don't monetize,
Yeah, true.
as far as I know.
Yeah,
I
we
mean, I'm pretty sure we don't.
Say I've uploaded stuff and I didn't see the option, but
You have to manually enable that per video.
yeah, which is fine. It's not something I want to do anyways. It's just a joke.
Yeah.
Turn around, come on.
So that was that big of a deal to me. Put ads on it. I don't give a shit. Not taking any money from me anyways. But when the game first came out, they were outright taking stuff down, and I'm sure at this point they don't care anymore. Because this was been, I guess, up to like, including June of 2017, I think. Sounds about right. So it shouldn't be relevant. Even then, there's no way that's happening in the next year. These games are long as fuck, and I got 5 of them to do before the 5th game. Wrap your head around that one. When you're playing a normal, be careful with the upgraded handgun, because as you saw, it fires 3-round burst. In this game, that drains your ammo
Yeah.
very fast. Mucho quico.
Hi, Cal. Ah, come on.
So is Cabell not lost anymore?
Nope, he's here. I go ahead and save. Might as well. Kitty.
Wow.
Yeah.
Part of me's been hoping that since since Persona 5 got so particularly popular,
Mm-hmm.
that they'll use the opportunity to just release like 3 and 4 again, so I can just have it
Okay, if you
on like
open...
the PlayStation 4 or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you open this door, zombies will come in. Don't do it.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
They might. I mean... They're doing that with at least Final Fantasy games.
Yeah.
But it's a different company, right? It's...
Yeah. I think Square did publish the 4th game in Japan then.
Mm.
Like the original version of the 4th game. So that's
Okay.
fun. Which I do own somewhere. Not the Japanese version, but you know. It's been a weird thing for that series, I think, because like each game that's come out in the in the series has kind of made it get more and more popular. I think 'cause 1 and 2 weren't really that big of a deal, kind of cult, as if that. 3 came out, and from my understanding, it got a moderate amount of attention, not like a big deal or anything. And 4 came out, and for a long time, that was considered, you know, the most popular in the series because just so many people had played it. And 5 came out, and it blew up. Like, you know, something blew up when they sell shirts with art from it at Hot Topic.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really hoping that they'll take this opportunity to re-release, like, just give me 3 and 4, like $40, I'm down. I'll pre-run the shit out of that, I don't care. I can own 4 versions of the same game, fight me. It's I'd imagine it's probably unlikely, but I can dream. And then maybe I can get people to actually play the 3rd game.
I have never played a Persona game. Like, I played a little bit of 4, but I didn't really get far into it.
Well, there's a 2.5 hour long intro, so imagine not.
I have seen the Him Daisy comic, though. Trial of the Dragon!
Mistake.
Mistake.
It's a mistake. Who wants to talk about murder?
Yay!
So don't tell anyone I said this, but
Like your mom's dead or anything.
It's not like your mom's dead or anything.
Am I right? That statue looks pissed.
Yeah. Okay. I think it comes crashing down. Oh, maybe not. Well, I'm not coming back in here, so.
I'm not waiting to find out.
As Leon, we will never go through this door.
Ever.
Ever.
Shit, you know what the real dream is?
What?
They're adding the main character of Persona 5 to Smash, so let's get those games on the Switch, please. I can play them on the go. You would never hear from me again.
Like, where's Brood?
it does seem particularly weird not to at least get the 5th game on the Switch.
Yeah, I have a feeling, because they registered Persona 5R or whatever.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that it's this game's FES or Golden, and it's gonna go out on the Switch as well. And I'll probably buy it twice.
Meow meow.
Probably.
Because I want it on the Sony consoles where I have all the other mainline games. But also on the go.
Yeah.
Part of me just hopes they put out a survey that I did, like the public survey. It asked what stuff you would want, and my first reaction was to say remakes or remasters, please. Because damn it, I want people to play Persona 3. And maybe they can add in the option to let me control my party members, so it's not such a pain in my ass.
Oh, you can't control your party members in that game?
Not in 3, no.
Oh.
You can in the PSP version, but then you're playing the PSP version, so yeah.
I wonder why. Because, you know, Final Fantasy 13 did that, where you couldn't really control.
It's just a weird design choice. There's really no reason.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell, it's just a weird choice they made. It's extra weird because 1 and 2 you could control your party members.
Hmm.
And
They decided to try something different, and then they never did it again because everyone hated it.
yeah, that's one of the big reasons that game is hard to go back to, even though I love it so much. But like every game before and after that game, you can control your party members. Are those 2 of the same model walking?
Yep.
Oof. And even the PSP version, you control your party members. It's just not 3 for some reason.
The PSP version then has its own sort of problems, though, right?
Yeah, there's no like they have like anime cutscenes in the other games, but not the PSP version.
Yeah.
I don't think there's even cutscenes with like 3D animated models. I think it's all portrait, all like dialogue portraits instead, which kind of takes away from the impact of things.
Yeah.
When instead of seeing a model do something, it's just a fucking animated portrait. And I liked the anime cutscenes. There were only a few really nice. They were well done. I enjoyed them. Also, it's on the PSP, so it's just generally low poly.
Yeah, I found an old video I had from Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, and seeing it on my modern, actually good, and high resolution computer monitor, I was like, oh wow, this looks terrible.
It's a shame because they had some neat stuff in there. The PSP version of you could tell we had nothing to talk about is related to the game right now because we're just talking about random shit. But
Yeah.
the PSP version of Persona 3 has like a female route where you just play as a female version of the protagonist. Sorry, it's not
Yeah.
fair.
Oh.
Alternative female protagonist. She's different enough in design where I feel like she's just kind of her own thing. And it has some unique of the social aspect of the game. It has some unique stuff there, unique characters to talk to and do that stuff. But you have to play the PSP version.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you're a big enough fan of it to where you want to get everything out of the game that you can, you have to play the PSP version at some point, just so you can see that route.
You'll never fucking guess who bought a PSP just for that shit. Yeah, it was $80 right out of my wallet.
I mean, even though I did, of course, end up getting other games for it, I mostly bought a PSP for Birth by Sleep and Crisis Core.
Yeah, there's the PSP's got this unfortunate, and the Vita has the same thing. There's some really good stuff for it, but it's just such a pain in the ass. Like, there's a lot of good stuff for it, but it's they were few and far between, and it's not worth having it sit around for months and months.
Yeah.
For 10 fun games total over the span of like 6 years. And I bought a Vita for Persona 4 Golden 2, and that was basically the only thing I ever fucking played with it. Everything else that came out for it, even Golden, has alternatives we can play it on now. For cheaper. And it's unfortunate, because there was a lot of good games released on the Sony handhelds, but can't compete with Nintendo in that regard, I guess.
I keep forgetting how my first experience with Blaze Blue was actually the PSP version, because I think I actually didn't have a PS3 yet.
There's a couple of good Mega Man games on the PSP, I think, or at least one.
I didn't think either of them were that great.
I'm hearsay, I don't know. But they were.
A lot of people liked Mega Man Powered Up. I tried it. I didn't care for it.
I looked at its art. I think I looked at in art style. It was like weird cartoony 3D. I didn't care for it, so I didn't ever go try it.
Yeah, I could look past that, but I gave it a fair shot, and I honestly didn't care for the physics either. Really, I don't know. I didn't like it.
I do remember it looking kind of like
Oh, you're still alive.
chunky. Maybe is the word that you kind of it just looked weird. Watch people jump and stuff. I don't know.
I liked Maverick Hunter X a little better than that, but even then, Maverick Hunter X is something that I feel like I'd say was decent, okay. I would have been interested in seeing what they could have done with like a Maverick Hunter 2 or 3, but in the end, I still wouldn't say it was, you know, like super great or anything. It's probably not a game that's going to change anyone's mind if they weren't a fan of the X series already, for instance.
Did that use the 3D art style too, then? Like a 3D model thing?
Yeah, 3D models, but they didn't go the whole, like, weird chibi thing, so...
I'm kind of biased, but I really like the sprite work in Mega Man X, so...
Yeah. 3D models can work okay for the X games. They could work okay now with, like, better technology and stuff. I don't remember minding them in X8, I don't think. X7 was kind of rough on graphics-wise. Still missed the sprites, because the sprites were really good.
At least with the X7 and X8, that's like has a different perspective, right? Camera's like a top-down thing, isn't it? I played the
X7 had a different perspective. X8
Oh, come on.
went to kind of a 2.5D thing because everyone hated the 3D that was in X7.
That's fair.
Damn it! Can't better now.
I don't know. I'm partial to sprite work altogether. That's why I like the PSP version of Final Fantasy IV. Because it has really nice sprite work.
I've seen people I've seen people bash on the sprites in the PSP version of 4, and I was surprised because I thought the PSP version of 4 looked really nice.
He's transparent. Yeah. I like them. I think it's nice sprite work. I don't know. What do I know? I guess, but...
That was like my favorite version of the game that I've played, honestly.
Yeah, I love the PSP version. Half the reason I love 4 so much. It's just a really good version, and I don't really like the DS version that much. I think it makes some stuff a little pointlessly difficult, and I don't like that weird art style. I'm not a big fan of that 3D pseudo chibi thing at all. So
yeah, that was like the best they could do on the DS, really. I think.
Well, because they did Final Fantasy 3 on the DS, and I think it had a similar style, but done a little bit better.
Or it just felt like it fit better because of the tone of the game.
Maybe. I haven't looked at 2 of them in a while, but I don't know. That's the reason I don't own 4 on Steam, even though I like 4 so much, is I don't want to play that version.
I'm okay with like the DS Steam version for a different experience, but it's not my favorite. I'd rather go back to like the PSP version or Super Nintendo or something.
Don't take my like bias against it for anything. It's still a great version of a great game. And if you gotta play 4 at all, you might as well buy the Steam version because it's still a good game. There's just some design choices I don't care for, and I don't like the art as much. Also, there's voice
I don't
acting.
know if I would suggest that version of the game as like a person's first experience with it because of some of the changes and increased difficulty as a result. Which
that's some of the design choices I was talking about. There's some difficulty in that game that
it
mostly
feels
in relation
like
to bosses.
It feels like an expert version of the game for like you've already beaten this game, so now play a harder version of it.
It's fair, yeah. Yeah, it's mostly in relation to bosses, as I remember. They give some bosses some cheap attacks, and I don't care for it.
Mostly bosses, but some other times random mini mobs too.
It is a GBA version if you're looking for an easy way to play it. I don't know how that version fares. I don't remember. I haven't played that one.
Graphics are good. Sound is.
No, it's the GBA, so.
Yeah, it's not going to be as good as it was on the Super Nintendo.
There's also that option, but then you got the weird numbering nonsense as far as I remember, so.
Also, the original translation of the game is kind of garbage.
Yeah.
4 is in this unfortunate position where the best version of the game, in my eyes, is on one of the worst consoles out of its lineup. But I love 4 so much. The PSP version is really good.
I agree. The PSP version is really good.
I think
I
half
wish
the reason
there had been a version like that for Final Fantasies 5 and 6, which, well,
I would be okay with seeing basically all the pre-7 games done that way.
there was the iOS versions of 5 and 6, but I don't remember that looking as good as.
I've seen the sprites for the iOS version of fucking 6, and it looks terrible.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's their version on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh god, what did they do? They took the sprites and made them like this weird drawn thing?
RPG Maker.
Yeah. And it looks terrible, and I'm guessing it just has something to do with how phones and tablets can run stuff, but
Since I'm here.
fuck, I hate it. I hate it so much. And
Also, it's a weird bias thing for me, but when this is like those are in the like the GDA versions and stuff too anyway, but I don't know. For some reason, especially in the case in particular with like FF5, I don't like Yoshitaka. I can't. Okay, I'm forgetting his actual name. Amano's artwork. I actually kind of don't like Amano's artwork for the characters in 5, and like they use it for the face portraits, and it feels like it clashes horribly with, to some extent, the tone, and also they look nothing like the sprites. Like, not even the same hair color.
Oh boy. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like just giving 1 through 6 kind of the 4 PSP treatment would be great. Because that's good sprites, good music, good translation. I also remember the DS version having, or maybe it's just the Steam version, having voice acting for 4, which I also didn't care for. Something about hearing that old dialogue voiced in such a muffled DS voice didn't work for me.
Low sound quality.
Yeah. Which is a shame because
I imagine it's not compressed like that on Steam. I would assume.
I don't know. It would. I mean, it really depends on how much of the files they kept. It's the Steam version came out so much later that I don't know if they'd even have the uncompressed versions or not. It's kind of a shame too, because what I do know of the cast, which is pretty sure just Yuri Lowenthal, it's a good cast. But the DS voice acting is not good. That console like that just can't do it.
Also, not to sound like I dislike Amano's artwork in general, because he does cool artwork, I don't like it in the case of FF5.
Yeah.
Memo to Leon. To Leon S. Kennedy, congratulations on your assignment to the Raccoon City Police Department. We all look forward to having you as a part of our team and promise to take good care of you. Welcome aboard! From all the guys at the RPD, except Carl. Fuck you.
Amano's artwork was pretty fitting for FF6, for instance, I think.
Yeah. Marvin's a zombie.
It's the
This
scary.
is the
Yeah.
scary music that sticks with me because of how much it... This might have been one of the scenes that scared the shit out of me, too. It's really a shame that all the, like, pre-7 games, except for, hell, even basically 6, have been kind of just neglected as far as, like, getting good representation in any year past 1997.
Yeah, like the superior... Again, how, like, for several games, the absolute superior version is on frickin' PSP.
Yeah. I guess 5 probably just has it worse by default, because it doesn't even have a formal English release, right?
Well, so there was the PlayStation version, which had a horrible translation, actually.
Yeah, the version in Anthologies was bad.
I didn't know.
And then GBA had a much better translation, but
Yeah.
it's a GBA, so you do have to deal with the sound not being as good as it could be.
Which is the unfortunate position 6 is in, too, because you get the SNES version, which sounds better, and, in my opinion, looks kind of better. I don't like how just brighter the GBA makes it look.
Yeah.
I like the GBA version. I think the GBA version, like, it still doesn't sound quite as good as the SNES, but I think it's a pretty good middle ground if you get those patches for it, where it sounds a lot closer to SNES. And
Certainly not a bad
palette.
Certainly not a bad version. It's just as it is on release, it's really bright.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound as good. I love the translation more for the GBA version.
Yeah. The translation is a lot better.
And it has the extra content, which isn't really that great, but it's a thing.
Yeah, I mean,
But the
I wonder
SNES
if I
version.
still have. I probably still have somewhere. I have an old video that I was like shitty video that I recorded the TV screen with a camera, where I was just stuck there forever in the Soul Shrine because I was fighting an enemy that is immune to physical attacks. Like you just auto miss.
yeah.
And then it zombified most of my party except for the one party member who was immune to it because of his equipment. And that party member who was immune had really high evasion, so no one could freaking hit him and kill him. And the party member who had high evasion and was immune to the zombie status, unlike my other party members, was Gal, who was in rage mode. And his rage only had physical attacks that couldn't kill the enemy.
Yo.
And I mean, it's pretty obvious that the only reason they don't get very much representation is because 7 is so popular, so everything after that was kind of considered what's important.
Yeah.
But it's such a shame because all of them, except for 2, have some worthwhile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and 2 just everyone just forgets to.
Hell, I feel like 2 should get the remake treatment in my eyes.
I don't forget that 2 exists. I just
Choose not to.
it's
acknowledge it.
awful.
We
Yeah.
just ignore it. Yes.
I guess maybe not in its defense, but to its favor, it's mostly terrible because they were trying to do some different things from the first game. They didn't pan out, but I can admire the effort to be different.
Yes. They
The
did.
ideas
what
were
they
bad, but
did.
the effort's there.
Yeah.
It's
They
not
did try. It was just like
not
a bad
good.
idea. Yeah.
The game's really
The idea was too ambitious for what they could really do at the time.
Which is why I think just give it the remake treatment. Don't have to turn it to 3D or anything. Just sprites, rework the systems now that you can.
I mean, they did give it the remake treatment on the graphics end with like sprites and everything, but they didn't. And I think they made it easier, but I don't think they really reworked it, so
yeah.
it's just kind of like it still sucks, but the difficulty has been toned down enough that you can deal with it better.
There's a GBA version, which is actually my favorite version of the game. But I never played the second game in it because why the fuck would I do that?
I was thinking of the PSP version.
Wait, what?
Yeah, there's a PSP version of 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Is it still the like? Is it just its own thing, or is it like just a port of like the Dawn of Souls or whatever it was called?
It's kind of like Dawn of Souls with better quality to the music and graphics and just everything.
Huh, I didn't know that.
I think the spell effects might have been totally redone.
Because I liked what they did for 1 with the GBA version.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
PSP version is basically that, but better.
Why the fuck do these games keep getting the best version of the PSP?
I know.
They deserve so much better.
Because
There's also-
that
I
they were
was
trying
really-
to get
what
people
really
to buy
surprised
the
me-
PSP.
What really surprised me the most was when I found out that like the DS version of 3 also got released on the PSP,
What?
and like you can switch between the original music and the remake music. I think
3 probably has it the best, to be honest. It's on the DS, and the DS version's good for the most part.
I imagine though the PSP version. I never actually. I picked it up for PSP when it came out, but I never did play it. I imagine it probably is like slightly higher poly or something. Probably has some edge over the DS version.
3 is like the only one of the Final Fantasy games that I haven't actually sat down and played.
It's honestly not that special.
Yeah.
To me, it feels kind of
Imagine
like
imagine a more simple version of it. So it's got like kind of like the job system like 5, except that they didn't have the idea of crossing over abilities between jobs yet. So it's
Oh.
kind of not as complicated,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
as interesting, but
it's like basic story. Her hands clipping.
Sorry,
Basic story-wise, it was like a. I mean, I remember it being like basically more 4 crystals bullshit. So
Oh.
I mean, it's okay. It's not a bad
Yeah,
game.
yeah, you know, I mean, what was, yeah, well, back then, it was more like a story exists, like, you know, there's enough story to get you going, like, you know, wizard bad, you hero, go kill.
More
I don't
going on in
remember-
3 than that, but
yeah, 3 had a little more to it. I don't remember some of the finer details with it, except that there is one thing that I liked with it that was never done again in the series, an idea that was never really tried again in the series to my knowledge until, like, they brought it back in FF14.
Wait,
the story gets.
what did they bring
A
back in
little.
14?
Something from that was only otherwise ever done in, like, FF3, to my knowledge.
What is it?
Is it?
The whole idea that there, in addition to the Light Warriors, there were Dark Warriors. And
Yes.
it was this thing of like, you know, in Final Fantasy III, it doesn't really come into play, but it's just in like Endgame. There's a point where I think you talk to some like, it seems like maybe spirits of like Dark Warriors, and it's kind of like a lore type
Oh.
of thing where it's not coming into play specifically, but you get the notion of the fact that like right now, yes, the world is like, it's like you're playing as the Light Warriors to restore the balance because the world has gone to darkness too much. But in the past, there was a point where there was too much light, and the Warriors of Dark had to restore the balance the other way. It's like you can have too much light as well.
Yeah.
Wow,
Which
that just
makes it sound like a big deal, but I don't remember that, so it must not have been that big of a deal.
Like I said, it wasn't really that pertinent to anything that was happening in the game, but it was a neat bit of lore that I've never really seen incorporated ever again until
Seems kind of a
apparently 14.
shame, because that could have been really cool as a whole
Yeah.
story thing.
Yeah.
Instead, it's
Like-
just kind of like,
Kind of raises the question of, like, are we really the good guys here? I mean, someone is running around trying to stop us
well, I think
because
it's
we
more
are
like-
potentially ruining the world.
I think it's more like if the situation warrants it, then the respective warriors step up to do the thing.
Ben?
if there's balance, then it's unnecessary.
That you knew something
But
about what's been going on.
when is there cosmic balance?
What did you tell
Yeah,
them?
true.
I don't think very many people have played 3 because, like, that's the first I've heard of it.
Well, the thing with 3 is on the very surface level, it's like basic crystals, elementals, just collect the MacGuffin, fucking do whatever.
It's such a sidelined, almost unimportant part of lore, even in that game, that like you really have to have played through the entirety of it and been paying attention.
It really is.
Does
Like
anyone know where they put the key to this cell?
the real story of the game is just beat these specific bosses for the specific reason and then beat the game. There's not like anything complicated going on.
Yeah, but
There's an evil wizard, and then it turns out the Cloud of Darkness was manipulating him.
It was almost a rehash of 1 because there's the crystals again, and
Get out of here.
it's just it gave you the job system to make things more interesting.
I also, now mind you, I played it when I was much younger, so maybe it wasn't, but I remember it being kind of difficult too.
But do you even
Yeah,
know how to
yeah,
get
it
out
was.
of the city?
My understanding, I've only played the DS version, but my understanding though is that it was actually less difficult than the NES version.
It won't be
Well,
easy.
yeah, I'd imagine so.
Probably.
All right, I'm going.
But it was no cakewalk as far as I was concerned.
All I know
Also-
is the skeletons kicked my ass.
All I know is that the final dungeon is something that I'd like to replay. I feel like I'd like to replay 3 sometime via either Steam or the PSP, but the final dungeon terrifies me because I know going into it that it's so long and there's no save points, and if you die to any of the end bosses, including Cloud of Darkness, who just has like a full party nuke attack constantly, you have to redo the entire freaking dungeon because they didn't decide to add save points.
It might be better to emulate and make your own save points.
Yeah, honestly, I mean,
Even if you want to like support the game, buy the Steam version, which
Yeah,
as far as I know
yeah,
is the
yeah.
DS version anyways, and then just play the
yeah, like, like, buy it so we supported it, but and then just emulate the hell out of it, cause yeah, fuck that.
I think I managed to. I tried to prepare enough, and I think that I made it through on my first try, and was very glad because, like, if I had died right near the end, I'd have been so angry. I remember it being a really close call too, though. Like, 2 or 3 party members dead probably when I actually beat the final boss.
It's a really weird thing because they act like they're gonna be characters, but they're almost not at all.
Yeah, it's like they were given at least slightly more characterization than in the NES version, where they
Like-
literally were not even characters. Like they were just the Onion Knights, basically.
They get a unique design, a rough backstory, and a default name.
Yeah,
and that makes me think, like, hey, they're
it's like
gonna be
they do a
characters.
little bit with it, but they do a little bit with it, but they don't do much with it.
There's one girl who gets probably the most out of any of them, and that's it. And even that, it all fucks off once you get the airship, so it doesn't matter. It's a really weird game, honestly.
It's not a real great implementation of the job system. It's neat, but it's just so. It's like it's an evolution of the series kind of thing. You can see how like, oh, this is where they kind of laid the groundwork for what would be kind of much better realized in like FF5, and arguably even better realized much later on by other games that Square would make. Not actually Final Fantasy necessarily, but like I think Bravely Default seems like it's a really good implementation of the job system that's probably better even than FF5's is.
It's kind of like how 4 is basically laying the groundwork for pre-established characters having one role, like 6 does.
Yeah.
Because 4 is
I think the
basically
stronger argument even would be like when they revisit that idea for 9.
yeah.
Okay, well, it's been almost 45 minutes, so gonna go ahead and
The
stop
final-
it here.
The Final Fantasy episode.
Yeah. So next time we'll go exploring some more.
Next time we'll
Hooray!
talk about Dragon's Quest.
Don't say that because now we might have to talk about Dragon's Quest.
Oh, that's easy. I've never played Dragon's Quest.
Me neither.
I haven't either.
Oh shit.
Well,
That's next episode, right there in the can. Be ready
Yeah.
for that one.
Yeah.